Welcome back to Moving Forward. I'm your host, Rachel Salyer, and today we're taking a look at the Rethinking Race event here on the University of Akron's campus. We're here with Professor Jim Slowiak, who is one of the facilitators at the Cross the Line Story Circle event. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, the Cross the Line event was a part of the Color Line project at the University of Akron. Can you explain what that is?
Well, the University of Akron Color Line project started, about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, consistent with the Rethinking Race events. And the Color Line project is a national project to collect stories from the civil rights movement and archive those stories before the participants of the civil rights movement have passed on. And stories of the civil rights movement and also the repercussions of the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. So we created a team, a research team here on campus, interdisciplinary research team of professors and students from different areas. And we collected stories from the university community and also Akron Summit County community. And last year, as part of Rethinking Race Week, I fashioned and devised with University of Akron students a performance based on some of those stories, which basically told the history of race relations here in Akron. So the Color Line Project had its beginnings there. We are continuing to work with different issues of social justice and continuing to collect stories and promote this idea of the story circle as a community organizing and conflict resolution technique.
And for someone who wasn't at the Cross the Line event, can you explain how it works and also the story circles?
Well, the Cross the Line event we decided to use that exercise, which is a fairly common exercise, I believe, in organizing and in getting people to open up. I believe it's also used here in the residence halls and things like that during orientation week. So we decided to use that exercise as a way of inspiring, instigating stories for the story circles. So the participants took part in the exercise, and then we divided into groups of about 8 or 9 people. And in those groups, each person had the possibility to tell a story related to maybe some of the issues that were brought up in the Cross the Line exercise. It's very important in the story circle that it's a story that's being told and not just opinions or saying, you know, how I liked the exercise or didn't like the exercise, but we're really interested in getting people to reconnect with what it is to tell a story and to listen, especially to listen to other people's stories.
The Moving Forward team was able to attend the Cross the Line Story Circles event, and afterwards we spoke with 2 students who took part in the activity, as well as another one of the facilitators, Dr. Patricia Hill, about their experiences.
Cross the line if you've been called a racist.
Where do we get to talk about issues like race? Where do we get to talk about issues like gender, like sexuality? Rethinking Race is not just about race, it's rethinking race, black, white, and beyond.
We will ask that all of those of you who fit this label or this description walk across the line.
The Cross the Line activity, everyone stood on one side of the room, and there was a tape line that went down the center, and then there was a director for the activity who would have a statement, and if that statement applied to you in any way, then you were supposed to cross the line.
Cross the line if you have told a sexist joke.
Some of the questions we asked were, do you feel lonely? Have you never had an opportunity to make a friend on campus? Or maybe you've lost a parent. And it's been very, very helpful in getting students not just to understand differences that we all have, but also that we share a common ground. And I'm so glad that there was an opportunity for them to talk about some of these issues afterwards in the story circle activities.
am so sad. I close the door and I go back to my room.
Sometimes there are people who have been in your classes and you thought of them, oh, that's the really smart kid that's in my law class. And then you look at them and you see what they've been through and they've become more than that one-dimensional character.
It always amazes me when I do the exercise what courage to allow themselves to walk across the room for something very, very personal.
Cross the line if you have been told not to cry. If you have been told not to cry.
Probably the most surprising one for me was step across the line if you have been hit or abused by someone that you love. It was really sad and really, really shocking.
It gets to be kind of emotional for me when I am facilitating, but also as I am seeing the activity unfold and seeing how people are sort of coming together and we are making from the many one experience.
It was interesting to see how those one-dimensional characteristics don't actually make the person. It's the stories behind the person.
We're more than just the color of our skin or our political orientation or our sexual orientation, that we're all just people.
Learning about someone's experiences makes you a better person, makes you a stronger person. When we talk about issues like race, class, gender, sexuality, all of those things, that's something that others share with your everyday experiences, so you're not alone.
As we saw in the story, a lot of really deep personal issues were discussed in the story circles and when we were crossing the line. What do you think made people so willing to open up about these issues in front of a room full of strangers?
In both the exercise and in the story circles, it's a very safe atmosphere that's created. There are very specific rules about behavior and about how you are able to react. And in both exercises, both Cross the Line and the Story Circle, there's really an emphasis on respect for the other. Mm-hmm. And I think when we're put in that kind of situation of needing to listen to the other or seeing how honest, or the fact that I'm different, you're different, we all have differences, we all have things that we're dealing with, it makes it much easier to create community. And I think stories are the ancient way of creating community. They are the way that our ancestors help to explain to themselves and to each other all the different phenomena in the world. So stories are something that go very, very deep and touch something very deep in us.
What do you think these activities accomplished for the students that attended? What do you think they took away from it?
There have been so many, many different reactions to the story circles. I think one of the great things is just understanding that that somebody different from you also has a family, has experiences. I mean, for a lot of our students, that's just a big eye-opening thing. Many students had never sat down around a circle with people different from them, and so to have that opportunity to just be able to listen and to open yourself up to somebody who comes from a very different place with very different traditions, I think is what education's all about.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for being with us today. The Cross the Line Story Circles event encouraged students to recognize that we are all more similar than we are different. The Multicultural Honor Society is a club here at the U of A that promotes these values by discussing diversity and multiculturalism on campus. We spoke with 2 members of the Multicultural Honor Society to learn more about their goals. Here's what they had to say.